Can you see me now? Anyway, hey, I'm going to cover a weight balance problem kind of quick for you guys that might be ready to test, and also you guys that possibly in the future might need to be aware of this. And this is a refresher for my current class, and a good refresher, hopefully, for you guys who haven't seen this for some of you guys for 2 years now. If you're in high school, on the high school end of it, it's been more than 2 years. So anyway, I put some numbers down here. These actually came up from our Cessna 150A. I know it's kind of a hodgepodge of stuff, but hopefully with the video you can figure out what we're talking about. So first off, you go to your type certificate data sheet and you look up and find where the datum's going to be. You find where the seats are going to be. This is all your type certificate data sheet. Our weighing points we actually measured with a tape measure and a plumb bob. So we got our weighing points. So our nose right here, remember anything forward of the datum is a negative number. Anything to the right of the datum is a positive number. That's why our nose gear and our engine oil right here is actually a negative number. So we've got to be aware of that. So we also have a little bit of fuel in this aircraft. This is as it was weighed, what, 2 months ago? Something like that? I'm asking my class, they're behind me, so anyway, I'm gonna ask for their help on some of this. So as weighed, it had 11.25 gallons, 6 pounds per gallon. It's 100 low lead avgas, and our station number was at 42 inches. Now that is unusable fuel. Usable fuel. The unusable fuel is part of your empty weight. So we have 11.25 gallons of usable, drainable fuel at station 42. That's as weighed. We have a baggage compartment, 80 pounds maximum capacity at 65 inches. Make sure you can see that. Front seats, 2 of them. It's a Cessna 150, so it's only a 2-seat, unless you have a baby seat in the back. Who would have thought that? Huh? So front seats, 2 at 39 inches. That's going to become important here in a little bit. We're going to do an adverse weight check. Now, the other thing I want to point out real quick, the oil, if it was built prior to March 1, 1978, which this one obviously was, built prior to, we have to take out, either mathematically or physically, take out the amount of oil that is in the aircraft. So we pulled the dipstick out, looked at it. We had 4 quarts, that's what we calculated, 4 quarts of drainable oil. The other undrainable oil, and it's always in parentheses, tells you exactly what it is, and on the type certificate data sheet, the other undrainable oil is part of the empty weight. Now, after March 1, 1978, you take and top it off. However many quarts it calls for, that's what you're going to put in, either mathematically or physically. The pilot wants to fly at a quart low, which is pretty typical. If that's happening, then you might mathematically add in a quart to top it off. We need to know our maximum fuel tank. It's right here, maximum fuel usable. 2 tanks at 14.5 gallons each. And we know it's avgas, so it's 6 pounds per gallon. Our weighing points. Remember, our nose gear was a negative number. Our main gears are a positive number from the datum. Everything is measured from the datum. Again, anything left of is a negative number, anything right of is a positive number. So here are the actual numbers that we took off our scale. I did add some tare weight. I want to make sure everybody understands that the tare weight has to be subtracted out. So our right main, 3 pounds of tare, that's going to give us 430.67. No tare on the nose. Our left main was 423 with 3 pounds of tare, so that's going to be 420.0. And we took a plumb bob, went from the center of the axle down, and we marked it. Then we dropped a plumb bob from our datum down, the firewall for most Cessnas, and we measured from here to here, here to here. That's what we came up with. So we're going to start putting some numbers down here. So our right main weight was 430.67. That was an average of 3 weighing points, by the way. Our left main was 420.0. And both of those, hopefully they're equal. Dot, you got a real problem. It's probably a training aircraft, so no telling what the mains are. But they should be equal. So 45.75 and 45.75. Our nose gear, no tear weight on that, was 227.67. Again, that's an average of 3 wains. No tear weight. And that is at a negative 11.38 inches. Now our fuel, you've heard me say, I'm sure if you're next door, you've probably heard me through the wall. If you were in my class, I know you heard me. Well, I say I know that, I hope you heard me. So if you've heard me through the wall, take the fuel out. You can either drain it, that would be the best choice. The second best choice is to top it off completely, then we know exactly what it has in there. The third choice, which isn't quite as desirable, is going to be to put a stick in the fuel tanks and find out how much fuel you have. Then it's simply a ratio. If you know your tank was 10 inches deep, I'm going to use that number, it wouldn't be that deep on a Cessna 150, I promise. But if it was, and it was 5 inches on the stick, you know you're 50% full. We know what the maximum capacity is right here. Now you can calculate that. In this case, we had maximum 14.5 gallons per tank. And as weighed, this is both combined by the way, 11.25 gallons at 6 pounds per gallon at 42 inches. We have to take the fuel out. That's a negative number. So that's why I built this box the way I built it. So you take the fuel out. We had 11.25 gallons. Somebody with a calculator help me along as I go. If you would, I'd appreciate that. So as weighed, 11.25 gallons was our usable, drainable fuel. At 6 pounds per gallon will give us a negative because we're taking the fuel out. 67.5 pounds. At station 42. Now remember, we've got to take our oil out, that's drainable oil, because it was built prior to March 1, 1978. If it was after that, the full oil quantity would be part of the empty weight. So in this case, we know we had 4 quarts of drainable oil at a negative 13.5, because it is left of the datum. That's a negative number. And we know oil is, or lubricating oil is 7.5 pounds per gallon. We just happen to be conveniently 4 quarts in a gallon. So we know then we have 7.5 pounds. That will be a negative number. So this is what we need to do to calculate our empty weight. Now we're also going to do an adverse weight check. Not that I believe your DME would ever test you on that, but he might. Let's get prepared for it. Let's do that here in a minute. So, right here, let's go ahead and get our moments. Weight times arm equals moment. You've probably heard that. I know you, my class has heard it how many times? 1.5 million probably by now. So, if somebody could give me 430.67 times 45.75 would be
19703.153.
Alrighty, and 420 times 45.75.
19215.
And 227.67 times a negative 11.38.
2590.885.
Negative number. Negative times positive is a negative number. Now, on our fuel, it's still going to be a negative number. But look on our oil, because I know that it was left of the day, but it's a negative station number and a negative quantity. Wait, negative times the negative is going to be a positive, isn't it?
2590.
On this one? Which one? This one?
On the nose.
On the 20.
2590.85. $885. $885.
885.
It's probably wearing bands, huh? Got you in the habit of carrying out the thousands now, don't I? All right, 67.5 times 42.0.
Negative 2835.
And a negative 7.5 times a negative 13.5 becomes a positive something.
101.25.
All right. Now we can get our totals, can't we? So we're going to add them up just as indicated. If it's a negative, it's a negative. If it's positive, it's positive. So I'm going to do my total right here. So we're going to take the fuel out, take the oil out. That gives us a net weight of, net empty weight. What? Make a better door than I do a window now. Just a moment. I'll take it. What do you got?
33,593.
33,593.
0.518.
All right, that's your total moment.
$1,003.34.
1,003.34.
Yep.
That is your empty weight. This is your empty weight moment. Remember, we're trying to solve for our CG. Should be that divided by that, right?
33.482.
And typically to tenths is okay. Now, I looked up the type certificate data sheet earlier, TCDS, and I established, based on the information that was on the TCDS, that our CG range was 32.6 to 36 inches. We fall within the CG. We are legal to fly that aircraft. Good to go. Hopefully that makes sense. So now we have these numbers. We know what it is. Let's do a forward adverse weight check. We're going to use our existing CG, our existing weight, empty weight. We can use the same moment too. Remember, if you're doing a form, it's just going to come straight down. So we've already taken out the oil, but here's what we're going to have to do now. We're going to have to establish some things. First off, if we do a forward CG check, which would be our first thing to do, typically, we're going to have to calculate anything that is forward of the forward CG limit. In other words, anything that is forward of 32.6 inches, we're going to have to calculate to the max. Because we're doing the worst case scenario with the aircraft loaded, nose heavy. So anything forward up. So first off, we need to put our oil back in. Can't fly the airplane without oil. I've said many times that this does not make any sense. The Wright brothers had to fly the airplane with oil in it. Why don't we weigh it with oil in it? Makes no sense to me. And we waited until 78 to make that change. That's insane to me. So we're going to have to add our oil back in. What about our fuel? Our fuel tanks are at 42. They are not forward of our forward limit, are they? Forward limit being 32.6. It is not forward of that. But we can't fly the airplane without fuel. So we're going to calculate, in this case, which is a color, METO fuel. Right here. METO is maximum accept takeoff fuel, or power rather. Now, a lot of your type certificates will actually indicate a METO horsepower. In this case, on your Cessnas, they just show a horsepower. In this case, it's 100 horsepower. So the formula for that is going to be your horsepower divided by 2. Now that takes into account your 6 pounds per gallon. So METO fuel is going to be your horsepower divided by 2. If it gives you a METO horsepower, use that number. If it just gives you a horsepower period, use that number. So 100 divided by 2 is 50 pounds, right? Now we have to add that back in because we have to have the ability to fly the aircraft. So METO fuel, 50 pounds, and we know our fuel is at 42 inches. So remember, this part up here is just part of your empty weight, or your empty weight. And empty weight, CG. Now our calculation down here is going to be, for now, our forward adverse check. By the way, we fell in our CG range. There is not a requirement for us to do an adverse weight check on this. I want to show you how to do it because you might need to know it in the future. Your DME probably won't ask you to do this. He will possibly ask you to do this. Just build a box. How many times has my class heard that? Again, 1.5 million. Build a box. We can do that. All right, so our weight 50, that's METO. We're horsepower divided by 2, that's 50 pounds. How about our oil? We've got to put some oil in here. Can't fly without oil. At least might clear the trees, but maybe if you're lucky without oil. So this is our oil. Now, we know what our drainable, unusable oil was. We're going to have to put that back in mathematically or probably physically. Put it back in. And we know we still had 4 quarts. So we took it out up here to get our empty weight because it's built prior to March 1, 1978. However, can't fly the airplane without it. So our oil now is going to be still 7.5. That's going to be a positive number now because we're putting it back in. We already had this at a negative 13.5 inches. Now, anything forward of the forward CG range for an adverse check has to be maxed out. Now, if we had seats that were forward of that, then we would have to max those out. We still have to have a pilot though, don't we? You cannot fly the airplane without a pilot, at least one. And that's all we need because our our front seats are 39, our forward CG range is 32.6. So my front seats are actually behind our forward CG range. So I am only going to put one person in that aircraft at this time. And we know our average, 170 pounds. A little light in my opinion, but hey, that's all right. We keep eating. We'll not be able to fly it all one of these days. All right, so, and we know our front seats are 39 inches based on this. Hopefully everybody can make heads or tails out of this mess. I should draw the airplane great big, I guess. Our baggage compartment is well behind our forward CG, so that said, you're not going to put anything in the baggage compartment, are you? Bags will be 0. For the forward check, you might go ahead and put your location down. That's at 65 inches. Hopefully you can make a heads or tails out of that. Because we're going to need that here in a minute, because we're going to do an adverse rear check. And then we're going to do a max weight check after that. All right. So what else we need to have in here, class? Anything? Did I miss something? That's it. Pretty simple airplane. So that is everything max forward. METO fuel, got to have some fuel. Got to have at least a pilot at 170 pounds. So 7.5 times 13. Let's do 50 times 42. Sorry about that.
2100.
2100. And 13.5 negative times 7.5.
Negative 101.25.
And 170 times 39, one guy.
6630.
Okay? So we're gonna take these numbers right here, that's what's important to us. To start with. That's what our calculations were based on our empty weight. And of course, 0 times 65 is 0. Now, where do we, and remember, we're calculating, make sure our CG still falls within that range on the forward adverse check. So we're gonna take our weight, 1,003.34, add 50, add 7.5, and add 170 will give us a total then of
1230.84.
4. Remember, we're calculating this right here, aren't we? So we're gonna take our 33,593.518, add our METO fuel into it, our oil that we drained out earlier, and add one pilot.
42,222.268.
42,222.268. Lots of twos in there. Now we take that, divide by that. Hopefully we will still fall within our legal range.
34.304.
It actually shifted rearward. The reason it shifted rearward is because this guy right here. If it was forward to that range, it would have got worse as far as our CG goes. Class okay? You guys okay?
Pretty good.
Thumbs up. The virtual audience. All right, so that was your forward adverse check. Now we're going to look at our rear adverse check. So by definition, for your rearward adverse check, anything that is located aft of your rear CG range, which in this case was 36 inches, anything located after that, we're going to max out now. There's still some things that we might have to have. Now our fuel, it's at 42. If it was in your CG range and not aft of the aft limit, then you're going to use METO fuel there as well. But in this case, it's at 42 inches. Our rear limit is 36, so we're going to have to max that out. We still have to have oil to fly the airplane, so we're going to let that stand right here. We're going to have to change our people because our rear range is 36, our front seats are at 39, so let's be rear of our rear limit. So we're going to max those out. So I'm going to get rid of some of these numbers right here. My METO fuel is going to change. My oil is going to stay the same. Still 39 inches, difference being because I'm at 39 versus 36, I'm going to have two people at 170 pounds, which is 340 if my abacus is correct. 340 pounds, and our fuel is no longer METO fuel. It's just fuel now in it. Has to be maxed out because our fuel tanks are at 42 inches. Our rear range is at 36, so we're going to have to max that out. On the type certificate data sheet, it told us how much fuel. Usable fuel. For the 150, it was 14.5 gallons per tank. And we're 6 pounds per gallon, right? Times 2. So there's what, 29 gallons? 2 gallon at 6 pounds per gallon. So 29 times 6 will give us
174.
174 pounds. Don't know why I erased this. That did not change. That's at 42 inches. Now, let's talk about our baggage. I should have erased that as well, shouldn't I? Now the station number doesn't change, so I'm gonna leave that there. But I am going to change my baggage because I know my baggage is at 65 inches. It is well behind my rear range at 36. So we're gonna max that out. The type certificate data sheet gave me the 80 pounds. I'm gonna put 80 right here. 65 still. This is gonna change. This is gonna change. That's what we're calculating. And this is certainly gonna change. So let's get some new numbers. So our fuel maxed out as per our type certificate data sheet. 174 pounds at 42 inches is
7308.
308. Our oil stays the same. Have to fly the aircraft with oil. And now, because of our location of our front seats, or only seats in this case, 39 inches, it's well behind our range of 36, so we have to max that out. 170 times 2, which gives us a total of
13260.
now our baggage, we maxed that out because it's well behind, way behind as a matter of fact.
5200.
All right, let's do some more math. We're going to take our empty weight that we calculated earlier. We're going to add these numbers in.
So your moment is 59,260.268.
Okay?
$1604.84.
Uh-oh. Remember, it's Cessna 150. You take two of me, you fly that airplane, you got about 10 minutes of fuel. I wouldn't take off. You know what I do? I sit behind the wheel and go, pretend like I'm flying, because I'm not going to go far in that airplane. So we do this math, 59,260.268, divide that by 1604.84, will give us a total of
926, sorry.
26. Okay. And usually tenths are okay on your inches. We're dropping a plumb bob after all. How accurate can that be? So 36.926. Rumble that up a little bit. 2, 6. So a couple things have happened. Our max weight was 1,500 pounds, wasn't it? Ruh-roh. And that's with 2 average people in here at 170 each. That means if you're over 10 years old, you can't fly this airplane. So 1,500 is our max. Well, we're 104 pounds over that. We're gonna have to sacrifice something. Probably the baggage, that's gonna help us. If we got rid of our bags at 80 pounds, that'll almost get us there, right? And probably our rear range is 36.926, or our rear range is 36, so we're almost an inch beyond that. Getting rid of the 80 pounds so far back will probably help us also. Probably. So we're gonna get close. We take that 80 pounds off there. Well, we're, what, 24 pounds different. Just take some X-Lax before we fly. It'll be fine. It'll all work out. Might not be so good at the airplane. Ooh. Make sure it's a rental airplane before you return it. Ooh. All right. Guys, hopefully this helps. Hopefully it helps our class, my class. Hopefully it helps you guys that need to take your oral and practical. If you have any questions, just let me know. I'll do the best I can do to help you as we go. But this is a pretty good summation of about, 7 days worth of work. hopefully it's a review for you. That's what I'm counting on. But again, if you have any questions about this, let me know. Somebody have to email or